5 years ago, Europe began to experience one of the biggest migration crises it's ever faced. As Germany prepared to open its borders to 1 million migrants, Merkel said, "Wir schaffen das," or "we can do it." Despite the optimism, the policy proved to be highly divisive for the ruling Christian Democratic Union Party. The declaration from Berlin heralded the arrival of the largest group of refugees in any EU country. Well, many countries struggled to deal with the influx of arrivals. A short while ago, I spoke with Dr. Thomas Huddleston from the Migration Policy Group, a think tank based in Brussels, which is sympathetic to the rights of migrants. I began by asking him whether he believed progress had been made over the past 5 years.
The German government was very proactive in investing in integration, realizing that these refugees were coming to Germany and they were going to have to put in more of an effort. So the government continued a lot of policies that it had done for a while, but invested more in resources and innovation, and German cities like Hamburg, Munich, and Berlin also really stepped up to the plate. And from our research, Germany seems to have been doing a lot more than most other European countries.
Do you keep some sort of league table then in relation to European countries and how they handle migrants? Because we've seen protests across the bloc over the last few years, only this weekend in Sweden, for example.
Yes, so we see that other countries like Sweden, the Netherlands, to a certain extent, France have also been improving on how they're implementing integration in practice. And there are certainly also, strong and weak points in Germany. Employment looks very good in Germany, with nearly half of refugees now in some type of job. Most are in private housing and apartments. Education is going well, but there are also some weak points. So many of the refugees who arrived are still separated from their families because of government restrictions. And also the future is insecure. It's really important that Germany invest long-term in a permanent status, in citizenship, and in stronger anti-discrimination policies.
Well, can you understand the concerns of some people who see the TV pictures and read about it on the papers, pictures, let's say, of illustrating the rising tide of migrants coming into some of the Mediterranean countries, for example?
Well, it's true that sometimes the images that the media shares actually scares people and creates the impression that there are difficulties in practice. But if you look at a country like Germany, actually people are now more positive about migrants and refugees than they were in 2015. Most of them feel comfortable when they're interacting with immigrants. And actually, when you have more diversity, more people come into contact with migrants and refugees, and that really reassures them. So it's great to see that in Germany and in many Western European countries, there is still a large support for a welcoming approach.
Indeed, but there's quite, some would say, the opposite in Eastern European countries. I'm thinking notably of countries such as Hungary. So what would you advise countries like that to do?
Well, in Western Europe, obviously, we've had the far-right parties doing well, not so well in recent years. But that doesn't mean that the majority of the population thinks that way. It's always really important to understand that communicating what we're doing and how we're investing in integration can really reassure people. And in countries where there actually are very few immigrants, like in Central Europe, we do have to understand that there's now a more conservative and nationalist approach that's going to be really hard to separate from migration. So there's really going to have to be a long-term investment in helping people there to understand what immigration is.